We all knew the Model Y L was coming, but today they finally unveiled the interior, and I must admit, it is just way cooler, literally and metaphorically, than I expected. And I understand my opinion in today's video is probably gonna upset some people because a lot of people love the Model X, and it is a very cool vehicle. It has still a lot of advantages, even over the Model Y L, but I'm just reaching the conclusion that Tesla is putting way more effort and way more energy into Model Y modifications and different trim levels that just make it far more interesting and exciting, and they clearly don't put this much time and attention into the Model X, at least anymore. It's kind of served its purpose, and I personally think they will phase it out over the next year or two, mostly due to poor sales performance. To give it the benefit of the doubt, I will lead this video by saying a few of the ways the Model X is still a better vehicle. For one, air suspension, the self-presenting doors, the bigger frunk, the bigger display, the pivoting display, the plaid powertrain, and the slightly higher towing capacity. There are so many ways now the Model Y L is already better than the Model X, and before you comment, well, this is just a China thing, well, everything launches first in China because Giga Shanghai is the biggest Tesla factory, it's the most profitable one, and very likely, at least according to the rumors, the Model Y L will eventually launch in the United States as well. This is not meant to be a China exclusive, but let's just go over some of the interior features here that we should mention are very much not standard on the Model X. For one, the Model Y L has 6 seats with captain chairs in the second row that are actually capable of folding completely flat, and they're powered, mind you, even if you get the 6-seat configuration of the Model X, which is a $6,500 add-on. By default, the Model X is still a 5-seater at $100,000, but that 6-seater Model X does not have seats that fold completely flat, so it's kind of a no-go immediately out the gate for car camping. And those second row seats do not have armrests in the Model X, and they do not have any ventilation. They are purely just heated, whereas now in the Model Y L, you actually get heated and ventilated seats in the second row alongside heated seats in the third row as well. And on top of that, the Model Y L also includes powered armrests that are touch activated with hand recognition so that they don't accidentally clamp on you, which is of course very important. And also on top of that, they also have powered thigh extender support in the front row. Again, this is a more luxurious seat with more variations, more customizations that you do not find on the Model X. You don't get that extended thigh support, nor does the Model X offer adjustable headrests, which you do now get on the Model Y L. You just press a little button on the side and it slides up and down. And while the frunk may be bigger on the Model X slightly, I do think it's worth mentioning that the Model Y Refresh, which includes the Model Y L, also gets a drainage plug. So I would argue the frunk on the Model Y is more useful because you can fill it with ice and it's much easier to clean and just let all that water drain out the bottom. Still not an option on the Model X, even after the more recent refresh where they basically just added a bumper camera and improved the noise isolation a little bit. But early reviews so far showcase that it's pretty hard to tell. And keep in mind, the amazing thing about the Model Y L is that despite adding 7 inches to the wheelbase and fitting in a much more comfortable third row, even though it's 2 inches taller, it has basically the same efficiency as a regular Model Y. At least the EPA estimate right now is looking to be around 327 for the all-wheel drive variant, which is incredibly close, pretty much spot on, exactly the same as the all-wheel drive variant today. So down the road, if they offer a single motor 6-seater Model Y, that one will probably get even better range than the Model X does, which also translates to faster charging because you're getting more miles per minute. Also, the Model Y L includes manual HVAC vents in the door pillars, not just for the second row, but also for the third row. Keep in mind, you don't get those HVAC vents in the back if you get the base Model X. That's something you have to pay extra for, at least $3,500 if you get the 7-seater, but if you want those captain seats, it's a $6,500 add-on on top of a $100,000 vehicle. So if you care about pet mode and just making sure the climate control gets all the way to the back of the cabin, again, Model Y L, huge advantage there. As far as total cubic feet, it's actually quite interesting. The Model Y L is now pretty much exactly on par with the cubic feet of storage within the Model X. Depending on which configuration you get, the Model X cubic feet is around 88 to 92, whereas the Model Y L cubic feet is around 89 cubic feet. So pretty much the same, especially when you consider the Model X has slightly more cubic feet because of that bigger frunk. Model Y L has a more standard size frunk, but because they were able to make such good use of that interior space, they just have way less padding to worry about. You don't have that air compressor on the inside to worry about with the air suspension. Those Falcon Wing doors require a lot of extra actuators and interior padding, which you now don't have to worry about because on the Model Y L, you just got this huge glass roof that now extends all the way into the spoiler in the back, which is now not just a simple slap-on spoiler. There's actually like a tail light integrated into it, which is pretty cool. And while I have not had the chance to sit in the back of the Model Y L yet, there's many influencers that are making videos already, and they're routinely showing fairly tall people, you know, like 5'10" or 6'1" in the third row and having maybe not the most legroom possible, but definitely comfortable is what they keep saying, with headroom to spare. I definitely don't think this is going to compete with the third row interior space of like a Lucid Gravity or a Kia EV9, but those vehicles are not going to get as good a range as the Model Y L, nor will they get the same efficiency or autonomous driving capabilities that the Model Y does. So can you fit 6 adults in the Model Y L? Yeah, it's going to be a bit snug, but it should be mentioned that even those much more expensive vehicles that might have more roomy third rows don't have as many luxurious features. Like, for example, the Model Y L has powered controls for the second and third row, so you can literally just click a button and move up that third row of seats, and you have ventilated seats in the second row. Not the case with the Lucid Gravity, believe it or not. It's an amazing vehicle, but still kind of nutty that you can't get ventilated seats in the second row on a $140,000 car, but yet the Model Y L, at least in China, is looking like $47,000, but of course there's a lot of scale and localized supply chain that helps achieve that pricing in China. So when the Model Y L launches in the United States, I wouldn't be surprised if it's roughly $10,000 more than that, probably closer to $60,000. And knowing how Tesla likes to chase those thick profit margins in the US, they probably will start out with a launch series of some kind where, you know, it forces you to get FSD, and maybe they include a year or two of free supercharging and make you pay $70,000 for it. But once that initial hype phase is over and they scale down the launch series badging and all that, I wouldn't be shocked at all if the Model Y L levels out around $60,000, maybe less, just based on what they're charging for it in China. And even if that's the case, let's say it's 60 grand, that's still basically like $40,000 less than a Model X, and you can now have roof rack capabilities, which you cannot do in the Model X because of the inherent design of the doors. You now have a drainage hole, you now have ventilation in the second row, powered second row and third row seats. Even the refreshed Model X that just came out, you still have to manually move those seats up, or if you get the 6-seater, they never fold flat. You can never get those seats to go down as much, and that kind of kills the car camping argument. It should be mentioned the Model Y L also has a slightly larger display at 16 inches compared to the 15.5 you find on the regular Model Y. Model X is still bigger overall, that's true, 17-inch display that pivots with a driver display, but personally, with how Tesla has been designing their software lately, I think they kind of optimize it better for the 3 and Y than they do on the S or X. At least when it comes to the visualizations, they make it harder for you to pivot around your car and see which doors are open and that kind of thing. Also, the Model Y L got a beefed up sound system, so now 18 speakers and a subwoofer, up from 16 on the regular Model Y. So with all of these additional luxurious features that they did not include on the Model X, for $40,000 less for basically the same range, if not more, based on Tesla offering a rear-wheel drive option eventually, I'm sure, compared to the Model X, which it doesn't appear they're ever interested in doing rear-wheel drive on. We need to take a step back and just acknowledge, yes, the Model X was cool. The Falcon Wing doors is a great party trick, and we love the self-presenting doors, we love the big frunk, and the air suspension is great and all that, but look at the sales numbers, okay? We're averaging under 20,000 units a year for an assembly line that was optimized for 100,000 vehicles per year, and that's before the Model Y L launched. This has been poor sales even just compared to the 5-seater Model Y when that's the only option available. Now, with the Model Y L on the horizon for the US market, it's substantially cheaper. You literally get tens of thousands of dollars back into your pocket, and you're gaining more luxurious features. In the front row with those adjustable headrests, those powered thigh supports, which I think make a big difference. I've tried them in vehicles myself, and I really appreciate them. You also get a powered second row that folds completely flat with ventilation. Imagine how much worse Model X sales are going to be once the Model Y L is available in the US. How many people were buying the Model X before, not because of the Falcon wing doors, not because of the air suspension, but were buying it just because it was the biggest Tesla with the most interior space they could get. Now the Model Y L is actually giving the X a run for its money by being $30,000 to $40,000 cheaper and including more luxurious features. So personally, I'm just guessing, unless Tesla does some really drastic refresh things with the Model X, the Model Y L is gonna eat its lunch. Hands down, X does not stand a chance at that price point, and based on how lazy they were with the latest refresh, not adding a drainage plug to the front, not adding a powered second row, which the half-price Juniper Model Y gets, like the basic entry-level Model Y got that feature, but not the Model X. It just feels like Tesla decided, let's do as little as possible with the Model X and just see who's willing to pay for it, and maybe start throwing in some more luxurious features to see if that sweetens the deal. But my guess is they started introducing the Lux package because not that many people were buying the refresh, especially the X. They did even less than what they did with the S. And I think it's also worth mentioning that on the more premium end of the market, Rivian and Lucid have far more compelling options now, especially with them both adopting NACS, so a lot of that supercharger network advantage is gone. Lucid has beat the Model S now on range and efficiency and performance, and Rivian has beat the Cybertruck now as well when it comes to range, efficiency, and performance, depending on which trim you go for. So if you're willing to spend, you know, $80,000, $90,000, $100,000 on an EV, there's just way more compelling options now with Lucid and Rivian and many others available. But with Tesla, it's like, well, they have some really compelling options when it comes to the Model 3 and Model Y, but when it comes to their $80,000, $90,000, $100,000 options, they're just not that much better than the 3 and Y. Don't get me wrong, they are better, but they ain't $40,000, $50,000 better. When you can get a Model 3 performance for around 50 grand now, it's like, why would you mess around with a Plaid when you can get such an incredible vehicle for literally half the price? But that's where my opinions are on it. How do you guys feel about the Model Y L? Do you think it's going to cannibalize Model X sales? Feel free to let me know your thoughts down in the comments below. And thank you to everybody supporting this channel directly. Seriously, helps us out a ton, as does just watching these videos. So thanks again. Have an excellent rest of your day.